4,352. People in the room. Wow, this is awesome to see people showing up here already. Greatly appreciated. Hope you can hear me. If you want to come up and speak, I think there is a way for you. Okay, now Tigre's getting down. This is about as live and as raw as it can get, folks. I started doing this a couple of months ago, and here from Briden Farm, which is our homesteading farm in Bear River, Nova Scotia, Canada. And it's funny, you can go to bridenfarm.com. That's our website, BRIDENfarm.com. You can also go to bridenfarm.productions. So on that one, there's no .com. It's just bridenfarm.productions. There you'll find our podcasts and our videos. Okay, there's a housekeeping. We started a farm here in about, a little haircut, huh? Started a farm here in 2020. Not our first go around, but with everything that was going on at the time, we come back to Bear River, which we absolutely love the place and the people. And we got 22 acres here on the west branch of Bear River, which empties into the main river at the head of the tide. Bear River is a tidal river, and right over there, about a telephone and a half length away, is where the west branch joins the main river, and that's actually where the tidal river comes up to, called the head of the tide. And it's been a journey. This is actually our second time kind of having a homestead or farm. And what we want to do, and it's funny, I've been building the website, I've been building our online presence. I joined Wisdom. Speaker request, absolutely. And I'll just be a minute, Riri. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce that. If I did, when you start talking, you can let me know. Just give me another minute or two. We lost my place. No worries. I appreciate y'all being here. So I've built an online community, and I've done it a step at a time. And I quite honestly, I didn't really know, and this is going to sound kind of stupid, but I just kind of follow my gut and my guide and my God. And over on bridenfarm.productions, if you click on the store link at the top, you will see that I just recently wrote a book. Honestly, I did it with AI assisted, but then went back and kind of edited it all. So if you want to get an idea of what an AI assisted book looks like, that's a good way. And for $10, you can get the PDF of the book. So I wanted to keep it, super affordable. But the thing is, as I was writing the back page, it come to me why I've been putting this all together. I want to promote other homesteaders, other farm, like small farm people, even makers, crafters, artists, because a lot of those people tie in. We all tie into the same community. And I'm just going to flip this around and show you what's going on here in the background. I've got my cup of tea, but I'm going to rescue my cookie from my kitty. Like I said, this is as raw as it gets. That's Tigre. Hi Tigre. She is 18 years old. She was 18 years old in September, and her mom, who passed just two years ago in April, we had her mom for 18 years and 18 days. I want to come over here. I've got Riri in the queue, and I just kind of want to say, Riri, if you want to unmute yourself, you come up to speak. So I want to invite you to do that. If you're listening and you're still there, you want to unmute, you're welcome to do that. It looks like I might have some other speakers too. That's a reaction. I'm still learning the system, folks, so bear with me. If you want to speak, I usually invite everybody to speak, and if you want to speak, feel free. So, Riri, it looks like you are muted. Looks like you muted yourself. And I think you have to unmute yourself, but I'm going to invite you to video as well. So yeah, as I was writing the back page of that book, which I wrote, not AI, I'm looking at, okay, you know what? We've got our podcasting, we have our video, it's like YouTube. Bridenfarm.productions brings that all together. We have a room over on Clubhouse, which we have way underutilized. We have our Fireside chat. We have over on Wisdom as well. And I'm just realizing I usually broadcast it over on Wisdom. I'm only doing it on my iPad at this point. So it's trying to bring it all together. So, okay, Riri, it looks like you went out. So I am going to invite you to speak. If you want to speak, feel free. If you have a farm, a homestead, any of the above, or if you'd like to ask questions, I'm going along and I'm inviting everyone to speak. Because I know that some of you, like me, might be newer on the app and might not exactly know how to hit the speaker button. And so if I miss somebody, I apologize, but you can request to speak also, is what I'm trying to say. And if you have a homestead or a farm, or perhaps you have a craft or an art or something that you'd like to tell us about, that's what we're here for. I actually had about 7 people show up last week And we already have more than that tonight, which is great. Um, Come up, let us know how what makes you tick, what draws you to Briden Farm Fireside Chat. Obviously, if the word farm is in there, so there's some interest, and we'd just love to hear from you. Um, Feel free to let me know if you'd like to speak. The we started. I'm going to tell you our story, and if somebody wants to speak, well, you just let me know, and I would love to have you do that. Um, so we come here in 2020, and in August of 2020, and we actually moved 3 goats in before we moved ourselves in. We started out with Nigerian dwarf goats, and we had Nana and Snowball, Snow White, who was a little white. Um, she's only a couple months old, I think, when she come, and Mama, Snow White's mama. And then by the spring of 21 is when we got our first pigs. But what we did, this place used to be gardens and beautiful flower gardens, vegetable gardens, fields. And Jack Harris, who used to live here, he passed in 87. And so it had grown up into hardwood lands. And what we started doing is we would put our goats in rotational pastures, and we continue to do that today. But we would start them off over here in this little pasture and move them, leave them in there for a month and the reason that we moved them every month is we were told that if you move your goats every month, you keep ahead of the parasite cycle, and therefore you don't need to use wormers. And we have not, in near 3 years, we have not had to use any chemicals or wormers. And so the goats do everything from the knee up, and they reach up and trim out all that underbrush that's there. Now, in the spring of 21, when we added in the pigs, that's where it really kind of kicked things into gear. Because, again, we started our goats off in the first little section of pasture. And then we moved the goats and we put in pigs. And then we moved the goats and we moved the pigs. But what happened is, over here was magical. Because this started, even though it was under trees, this started growing a little bit of grass. And so that first year, what we did is we did 4 sections of garden and 4 sections of pasture. Now, last year, we actually went to the other side of our property, and everything in Bear River is on a hill because of the tidal river. So up here in the woods, we started doing the same thing. Put the goats, move the goats, put the pigs, move the goats, move the pigs, and then the grass started growing in under the trees. And that is regenerative farming. As the animals go through and disturb that soil, and then you move them and let that rest, that grass begins to grow. And then in August of last year, actually in July of last year, we went over and looked at a piece of property that the family wanted to rent, a 1,200 square foot barn and 7 acres of hayfield. Well, unfortunately, that hayfield was pretty much burnt out. Someone else was looking at it, and because I've kind of been friends with, definitely more friends with now because we've really got to know the family, but we were acquaintance and slash friends with the people who wanted to rent it. I really didn't want to break the bad news to them because I knew that their property needed a lot of work. And there was somebody else who was looking at it, and I let them go ahead and be the ones to break the bad news because they went in and they said, oh, you're going to need $5,000 worth of chemical fertilizer, and we're going to have to lime, and we're going to have to bring in a excavator and get rid of the Japanese knotweed and the lupin and the goldenrod and invasive weeds and so on and so forth. Well, if we were to put sheep and cattle on that property, we would, the lupin itself could do some serious damage, if not get rid of those animals. Goats and pigs, in our experience, have been able to handle it. And so I'm getting ahead of myself. The family come over here and looked at what we were doing here on the hillside and in the woodland and seeing how we were turning woodland into gardens and pasture. And they asked us to come there to what we now refer to as the barn property and asked us to come and farm their property, use the barn, keep the field from growing into hard woodlands, which is what had happened here. And so the end of August, the 31st of August, we moved our goats and our pigs and some chickens and some rabbits over there. And it was quite exciting to see through the fall how the work that the goats and the pigs were doing, reclaiming that land, and then to put the chicken tractor, so a mobile chicken unit, behind them, which got moved every day. So those chickens were on a new salad bar every day. And the other thing is, even though we've been doing this now for nearly 3 years, about a year ago, I started really tuning into YouTube and watching Joel Salatin and Greg Judy, which are two names that if you don't know them, you definitely want to check them out. Joel Salatin and Greg Judy. They are like the gurus of the regenerative farming business, we'll say, the movement. And what I've discovered watching those videos and those guys is when you got grass, which begins to grow up, once that grass starts to get to be 3 or 4 inches, it takes a long time, this juvenile grass. And then all of a sudden, it shoots up. And that's kind of like midlife grass. And then as it matures, it goes up a little bit more. But that last bit, the first bit and the last bit, are slow growing. That center is what goes really fast. And so if you can keep the grass here, so when it grows to here, graze it back to here, it'll grow up again. Graze it back to here, it'll go up again. And if you do that in a small area at a time, rotating your animals. So we have, right now at the barn property, we have 7 goats, 4 adults, and 3. Well, they're probably adults now too, but 6 months to a year old. So we have 7 goats over there, and we put them in 492 square feet. It's 3 164-foot mesh electric netting, fence netting, and that, so 492. I think it works out to about, I think if it was square, I think it would be 123 by 123, which works out to about 15,000 square feet. Now, we don't actually leave them in one place for a month anymore, because what we've discovered is, listening to Greg Judy and Joel Salatin and their YouTube videos, is information on that grass cycle I was mentioning. And by moving the animals, by keeping them in the pasture between 5 and 12 days, and you kind of have to depend on, look at the grass cycle and what's happening in the ground that they're on. We move them about every 5 to 12 days. I would say, honestly, we move them about every 7 to 10 days. And if they're overgrazing an area, you move them sooner. If they're not grazing quite as much, you leave them a little longer. But leave that grass to come back. Now, the neat thing was, because I'm new to all this winter, we had a fairly open winter. I'm really glad that we didn't get the rain. We got a lot of rain I'm glad that we didn't get that amount of water and snow, because it would have been 6 feet or better of snow on the ground most times. And as it was, we had a pretty open winter. But where those animals had grazed, you could see it, like during the winter. It was green. And now that the spring is coming, and you can see those areas greening up. And there's other areas. So, we kind of did this section from through the fall. So there's other section that's still burnout hayfield that is not green. Far from it. In fact, I hope in the next week to maybe go over there and actually, and it's a whole debate on whether or not you should do this, but I want to go over there and burn this old hayfield, and I want to do it for a couple of reasons. One is I think it needs it. The bigger reason is it's polluted in wood ticks, and the fire will help to eliminate a lot of that. The other thing is, with the lupin seeds there now from last year's lupin flowers, which are toxic to cattle and sheep, and the burning that now will help to get rid of a lot of those seeds that are left there. And then afterwards, that's going to come back in, and it's going to come in green and vibrant, and then graze the animals on that. So I see. Still trying to figure out, because it doesn't totally. I see that Curdy's there for a speaker, and I thought there was somebody else, but maybe they stepped down. The so that
Uh,
is
yeah, I'm here, Brian. If you want to invite me up on video, I'm cool with that too. For a few minutes. I'm doing laundry downstairs
there
in the basement.
you
But
go. Okay.
there we go. Video.
So that's so that is how we started. Now I'm not sure. I see there's a number of friends here, and I see there's a number of people here. If there's any of you who would like to, let us know what you're doing. What you're, if you have a homestead, if you have a garden, if you have a flower garden, whatever it is, we're just here to talk. So if you feel free to, if you want to talk, feel free is what I'm trying to say. And Curdy, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Like I said, I'm doing laundry, so if it's a little loud, I can turn it off. I don't know if you can get the dryer going, but yeah, no, I love this regenerative farming um, discovery, and I think it's wonderful. And it's a great opportunity for anybody to get involved with. It's good for the community as well, and just hearing how how you've tackled. It's always coming up great on being on video because you actually get to see the actual person. Just not doing an audio call, that kind of stuff.
I sent you the video thing there, but I'm not sure if you got it.
Yeah, no, I'm on here.
Oh, okay, there you are.
Yeah, there I
You're
am.
dark.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is a little. Well, I can turn on the light, I
I
guess.
got you.
Let me venture around. Oh, there we go. Hey, here's me. Oh, wait. Let me get to a better point of the basement. So, yeah, here I am. It's great. It's good stuff. Great knowledge that I'm learning from you too. That's what I love about it. And knowing that you'll be part of the show, April 20th.
That's right.
Can't
Tell us a little bit about the show that you've got coming up, Curdy.
So modern day hippies, it's going to be about regenerative farming. Also, just opportunities and everything to give back to the community, volunteering. Uh, you caught me on the spot, so I wasn't prepared to say everything because I wanted to show the teddy bears and all that good stuff. But if you go to modern day hippies, it's not about what you would kind of think about, like
More about farming, not about drugs.
yes, thank you, you cleared that up. Great host. Yeah, no, it's I so my question to you, Brian, is I'm going to throw it back your way. Um, geez, there's so much in this picture. Anyway, um, when did when did you first um, decide to like get into farming or going into growing plants or um, being like resourceful as far as like you know all that stuff, like eating or whatever?
Just before I answer your question, if there's somebody in the audience there that is here for Harvest Harmonics, please let me know. I was on LinkedIn earlier today, and I had somebody asking me questions because they are actually promoting Harvest Harmonics, and there's supposed to be somebody come on. So I don't know if they actually managed to get the app downloaded in the room or not. But I don't want to ignore you. If you're good enough to show up, I want to let you know and give you space to come up and tell us about that. But so when I was a kid, my dad had a 250-acre farm. And before I come along, he had 300 sheep, 125 cattle, all the side trimmings, gardens as well, chickens. Um, and when I come, like, he was a Second World War vet. He had 3 deteriorating discs in his back, and he had to leave the farm. So by the time I was 7 years old, we left. It it broke my heart. I think in a lot of ways it broke his heart too, because he built that farm. He come home after the Second World War, and everybody told him he was crazy investing in a 250 acres and planning to turn it into a farm. I mean, we're in Nova Scotia. My original home is Yarmouth County, Nova Scotia. That's District 34, lobster fishing. Lobster with the big claws. It's the largest lobster fishing district there is.
Hello.
And so my dad would become a lobster fisherman as well as farming. He would go as far away as Ontario to work, and he worked on the pipeline. He worked picking tobacco, and he did whatever it took to make it work. And so I know that it broke my dad's heart when he had to leave the farm. As a child, it broke mine too. And so directly after leaving, we lived in a trailer for 2 years, and then we moved into East Kemptville, Yarmouth County, and got 8 acres. And then we always had chickens. Sometimes we had ducks. We had usually had a lamb that was raised, got it in the spring and raised it till the fall. Um,
I'm just
and
curious,
so,
what were the ducks used for?
what were the ducks used for?
Yeah.
Food.
Okay. Yeah.
Food.
No,
Yeah.
I've had them all.
the um, Now I always wanted goats. And when I was about 14 years old, and then I think when I was 15 years old, I saved up my pennies. And I know that um, to go to fly, in those days, you could get like a 747 Air Canada jet in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, and go directly to Boston. And I remember the first time I ever booked a flight. So I saved up my pennies for a year. I saved up my allowance. I did whatever I could do. I had $99, and that was the price of the ticket. And I had cousins down in Kingston near Plymouth, Massachusetts. And I saved up my pennies, and I phoned and I booked my own ticket, and I was leaving at 2:30, and I was getting into Boston at 2:28. And I got off the phone and I looked at my mom and I said, "So, Ma," and I realized what the woman told me. "That's absolutely crazy. How can I get to Boston 2 minutes before I leave Yarmouth?" The So I called back and I said, I just wanted to check the times. I said, "I was just talking to a lady there and she said that my flight leaves at 2:30, but I get into Boston at 2:28." And a polite little chuckle on the other end of the line. And she said, "Yes, that's correct, because you're on the Atlantic time zone and Boston is on the Eastern, and your flight takes 58 minutes." Yeah. So I went down and visited cousins.
Yes.
And I think that's part of what, as you know, on Monday evenings at 9 Atlantic, 8 Eastern, I do their Growing Your Family Tree Talk on Fireside here. And I think that's kind of what started that interest, or kind of made that interest a little deeper as well. Because when I went down to visit cousins in Kingston, and they actually lived on some of Governor Bradford's property, or property that originally belonged to him. And I would come to realize years later that I actually have ties to Governor Bradford as well, which was pretty neat. That, I had, in sense, gone back to Grandpa's property on my first trip on my own, even though it was visiting cousins. And when I was there, they had a goat. They had a nice little alpine goat who let me milk her each day, and I absolutely enjoyed that. But my dad's experience with goats was totally different. He had a goat whose name was Pandora. Well, you go learn what Pandora's box is, and you know that you want nothing to do with it. And after having a goat named Pandora, he wanted nothing to do with it either. Now, he readily admit that he shouldn't have done what he did, but he was shearing sheep, and he had the sheep shear, which is probably what I should have for my hair at this point. The
I want to make sure that I'm not showing too much stuff here.
Yeah, no, you're good.
I didn't
The
click on everything. All right. Yeah, cool.
Right, and
Yep.
so Dad was shearing sheep. He had the shears plugged into a light socket with a 25-foot cord on it to where he was working, and he went in the house at noon to have lunch. And when he come back out, that goat had started at the shears and had eaten everything right up to, and how it never got electrocuted, we don't know, right up to the light socket. And he said for about a month, she would run around with little pellets on a string coming out. Well, that was my one and only, that was my dad's one
Yes.
and only experience with goats, and he would not let me have a goat. Now, the other thing that Dad wouldn't let me have, growing up, he didn't like pigs because in
Oh,
those
here we
days,
go. I can this is gonna be exciting because I know you're gonna give a little.
those in
Oh,
those days, in
yeah.
those days, pigs were very intensively farmed. They were kept in a corral, basically, a
Mhm.
small corral, and they
Right.
were kept in there. And they all the only purpose they had was to stay in there and eat and get fat until
Yeah.
butcher time.
Right.
And they got a lot of disease. And so Dad never wanted anything to do with pigs because of the way they were raised and because they had so much disease. And, if you wanted to avoid that disease, then you had to pump them full of chemicals and dewormers and
Right.
all that garbage,
Here we go with the right thing again. But yes.
right? The And so it become very, to me, I wanted to raise goats. I wanted to have a goat. I wanted to have a pig. I couldn't have that. And so I jokingly say that this is my rebellion. the That, we
I'll
have
take
pigs,
that.
we have goats,
Yeah.
the and but it's a whole different farming system now than what it was 50 years ago when my dad, 60 years ago when my dad was farming.
Even I mean, for me, it would be 40 years ago. I mean, it's
Hmm.
totally different. I mean, like, yeah, no, like a lot of the things that you said, it's pretty crazy to think, but it was just. I mean, I think you remember when I was telling you when we had a discussion about, um, yeah, you don't want to fall in that pig pit because they're gonna tear you apart,
Right?
and you're like, no, not today. Like,
Yeah. Well, not the way that we raise them. Like, I wouldn't encourage you to go, or I wouldn't encourage anyone to get in a pig pen. And I
right.
really wouldn't encourage you to get in ours because our pigs don't know you. But we raise all of our animals, whatever their end of life purpose is. We raise them all as pets.
Yes.
They, some of the hens, some we vary between 50 and 200 hens at times. Well,
Really?
probably all
You
200
said
hens don't have
200?
names, but
I hear that
all of
right?
our animals, just kind of as a rule of thumb, they all have names,
Yeah.
regardless of their end of life purpose. And I find it harder on me on that one bad day, but I find it a lot easier to handle the animals, and they have a better quality of life um, that way. It's
Trying to
it
like keep my video quality good because respect your I respect what you're doing on Fireside. So when I originally came on, I was on YouTube and I was like, wait, yeah, I can't talk on here, and I'm sure it's broadcasted to Wisdom as well.
that's right.
But I
That's
didn't
right.
mind coming up on video. Like, hey, this is me. This is my life. Um,
Right.
I know that you're getting ready to start seeding, I'm sure, but hearing about the regenerative farming is totally a totally new process to me. And for me, it was always about planting and farming. When I was younger, it was like vegetables, so it was like eggplants, green peppers, red peppers, corn, all the different. I mean, even though corn has no nutritional value, but just something to add in there. Tomatoes, um, and then I even going as far as like oregano, cilantro, and all your different herbs. Um, it's great stuff. So yeah, no, um, I enjoyed being here today, Brian, and I know we'll be doing some good things in the future. And like I said, once I get my passport ready and fired, and I can travel, um, I can't wait to visit the farm and
Right.
put in some. What do they call that? Mm,
Woofing.
well, doing a little handiwork.
Sweat equity.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Yeah. Sweat equity. Yeah. Sure. Well, I'll take that one. Yeah, I'll take that. And if you could let me down, that'd be great. I gotta make dinner. I know it's 8:39
Yeah.
my time, but uh, like I said, you popped up on YouTube, and I'm going, and then I'm like, wait, I can watch this on my TV, and then maybe broadcast myself. I thought about so who knows? By the time
Right.
I'm done making something I'm not supposed to eat,
Yeah.
which
Well.
happens to be good stuff and bad stuff. It's a mix.
Yeah, mixture. Well, at least that's an improvement, right?
In what do they say in yeah, when you only do it like once a month, you know, it just so happens. Yeah, so I'm actually using vegetables that I grew out of my garden. So it's red peppers and green peppers, and my my younger brother, he grows sweet onions, carrots, and everything else. But I'm using his sweet onions to put a little piece of it's called a steakum over top that, over a piece of bread. I'm not going to use cheese. So it's kind of like a fake Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that'll work.
That
Yeah.
works.
And,
I
and
just
French
went along. I just went
and
along and invited anyone who's in the audience to speak. You don't have to, but you're more than welcome to.
you
So
don't have to come up on video either. Like you can.
yeah, no, video is a choice, right?
Yeah, it
The
is.
so is speaking.
I
I like
really
to
didn't
invite
want to
everybody
do
to
this,
speak in
but
case
I'm
you do
like,
have something you want to ask or share.
yeah, I
Um,
really didn't want to do this, but I'm like, you know what? Screw it. It's my own authentic self. And
no worries.
French fries with a little bit of pickle and ketchup. Ooh, I'm gonna
All
get
right, my friend, go enjoy
good.
your meal.
I will. Good to
Thanks for
see
coming
you.
up.
Yeah, thank you. I
Okay,
can't
we'll
wait to
talk
see you
again
soon.
soon.
All right.
Do I have to let you out, or do you just
I'm working
kind,
on it.
or do you just kind of go away?
Hang on.
There you go. And don't mind me, people. I am snacking on a chocolate chip cookie. It wasn't made here. It was bought down at the Bay River corner store. It is locally made, though. And enjoying a nice cup of tea in my Nova Scotia mug. You'll see a lighthouse, a piper, the Nova Scotia lobster, and of course, the blue nose. The So we went up to Newport, Windsor, Brooklyn Feeds, Scotian Gold, and got feed today. 1,100 pounds. Well, that is Willow. Hey, Willow, another one of our cats. The Yeah, okay. I'm gonna finish telling them about the feed first, though. Okay. She wants me to show you something. She's had a very special month. The So we'll look at that in a minute. What? Oh, okay. I'll be over in a minute. The We went up to Brooklyn Feeds up in Newport near Windsor, Nova Scotia today, and got 250 kilograms, or about 550 pounds, of lay mash for the hens. We also got 250 kilograms, or 550 pounds, of scratch feed, which is barley, oats, corn, and wheat. And next week, we'll actually go up to Windsor. Hopefully, we weren't able to get it this week. Hopefully, we'll be able to get it next week. We will be getting some human grade hemp seed feed. So, all of our animals, with the exception of the rabbits, because they just don't like it, all of our animals get 1/4 of their feed is human grade hemp seed feed. 1/4 of their feed is scratch feed, barley, oats, corn, and wheat. And the chickens get 2 parts, so 1 part scratch, 1 part hemp, and 2 parts. I can't do it. 2 parts. I can do it on this one because it's like your Star Trek salute, live long and prosper. So a part scratch, a part hemp, and 2 parts lay mash. That's what we do for our chickens. For our goats, it's very similar depending on what's going on with the goats. If they are pregnant, gestating, or nursing, then they get more. One part or half would be milk generator. about 10 days ago. Had head cold, still have a little bit of a lingering cough. And so the goats get a mix of, along with their hemp and their scratch, they get a mix of beef builder and milk generator, more or less depending on the time of the year and what's happening with the goats. The pigs get some hog grower, usually about 50% hog grower. Right now, I have them on sow chow because Lara, who is actually Lara right now is about 14 months old, and she is getting ready to have piglets. Now, her due date, she was bred the 12th of December, and her due date is actually a week from today, on the 6th of April. Now, if I don't show up next week, you'll know where I am. It'll be in the barn with Lara. If I can accomplish next week what I want to accomplish, and she actually is having piglets at the time, then if I can, I'm going to be doing this in the barn while she's having her piglets. Problem is, I have real spotty internet over there, so I'm not sure that's going to be possible. So it either could be that, or I just won't show up because the animals take priority. But I hope to be able to bring you at least some of that. And if I can't bring it to you live on here, then I will be filming some of it anyway and putting it on our YouTube channel. So wow, I am very impressed and thankful for everybody who's showing up. I see somebody who's showing up that says compliance. Am I in trouble? Yeah. I invite everybody to speak. You make the choice whether you want to or not. Um, it's an interesting journey, and I'm a little blown away. This is the first week I've been doing these fireside chats for Briden Farm for about 2 months, and I see our following has grown to, I think it was 4,200 and some. And to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have 9 people, the chat bot and myself, all in the room at the same time. It's pretty awesome. And there's been some that have come and gone, and that's okay because I do that on here as well. But I appreciate each of you. And if there is anyone that does want to comment or ask questions or whatever, feel free. That it's chat, fireside chat. It's just want to give each of you the opportunity to speak, so that's why I always invite everyone to speak. And so, yeah, today we went up and we got our feed and brought that back and unloaded that and went on to Wisdom because we're also broadcasting over. And thank you, Curry, for the reminder that I am on there as well, because I had actually kind of forgotten. Forgot to start it, and then I forgot that it was over there. And thankfully, there's been nobody sitting there in the queue that I don't think there is. But if there is anybody on Wisdom that wants to speak, you can hit join the conversation button over there. And if you're here on Fireside and you want to speak, I invite everybody to do so. So, be glad to try to answer any questions you might have. Don't make them too tough. But so yeah, it's this is an exciting time of year. Curdy mentioned that he was figured that we would soon be planting seeds. Well, I think if I remember right, I heard Curdy over on Wisdom yesterday or today mentioning something about they have blossoms down there. Well, our crocuses, which is like the first flower to blossom here, um, domestic flower, I guess you would say, flower garden flower. Crocuses usually come first, and we do have a couple of those at the corner of the step that have just started. But we really don't start planting much until May. If I'm able to, I like to get my potatoes in the ground and my peas in the ground towards the end of April, depending on the moon. Kind of plant somewhat with the moon, and maybe I'll go into that further on it in another week, or in a future broadcast. The I see someone else. Anna, I'm just going to invite you to speak. If you wish to, you can. If not, just ignore the invite. But you're more than welcome. And so we have 3 goats that may be going to Freshel through April. We have Lara, who's our Berkshire pig. So I referred to her as a sow earlier. And, it was a learning experience for me. Up until female pig actually farrows, and it has her little ones, that's what it's called. She's known as a gilt, Gilt. Once she has her piglets, then she becomes a sow. A male pig, by the way, that has been fixed is called a barrow, and one that's not is called a boar. And the other thing that Curdy mentioned is on an earlier conversation that I had with him. He was saying, "Oh, you don't want to go in the pen with the pigs." In some cases, that's absolutely 110% true, because pigs can be mean. Generally, not always. Generally, according to the way they've been raised. And because we raise ours as pets, regardless of their end-of-life purpose, they're gentle. I go in and I stand there and I feed them, and I give them the water on their feet and the trough, and I pat them, and when they're not eating, I can walk up and scratch their back, and they'll lay down on their side. And it's just the way that we handle them, and because we handle them like that, there's a boar over there that was born last June, and he's just as gentle as a kitten. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't respect him. The fact that he's a boar, that he could get out of line very quickly. And so I'm always aware. I think really any time that you're working with livestock, you really need to treat them the best you can, but you never really want to totally let your guard down. And that's like Lara. Lara's a roughly 450-pound pig now. And when she has her babies, she can't, like, sometimes a sow can become very vicious when they're in labor, and so I need to be cognitive of that, be prepared in case that happens. And at the same time, a pig can just see Sarah come into the room. I want to invite you to speak if you want to. I send everybody an invite to speak. So it's funny. Sometimes I send an invite to speak and the person runs away. Well, don't do that. If you want to speak, you're more than welcome to. There goes Sarah. Anyway, I think some people are totally new to the app, and just the thought of somebody's asking me to speak, oh no, what do I do? Yeah, we're pretty easy going here. As he munches on his chocolate chip cookie. Trying to not be totally conspicuous doing it. But The other thing, so tomorrow's going to be, 2 days ago. I'm getting ahead of my story again. 2 days ago, we finally got to go over, move the fences, because with winter and everything, I had kind of gotten behind on that. The animals had to be in the barn anyway. 10 days ago, I got a head cold, so it took a bit for my energy to come back. So anyway, a couple days ago, we went over and we got the fencing moved, because we do the rotational pastures, and got the goat fencing moved, got the pig fencing moved, and then I went over and trying to think what I did first. I think I let the goats out, get them settled in their pasture. I always do a perimeter walk with the goats. They follow me around, so I go around once. It kind of gives them an idea, okay, this is where we're supposed to go. Now, it is an electric netting fence that we use for the goats. Some people cringe when they hear that. We haven't had any problem with it. Sometimes when we have new kids, they will stick their head through it, usually only once. Now, when I was a kid, when I was a child, it was a constant current. So if you touched an electric fence when I was a kid on a constant current, you couldn't let go. It was all you could do to let go. And I never really walked up and grabbed one because I knew not to. Actually, in the back of my recesses of my mind, I think I might have done it once because I do know that it held my hand. But there was a meadow where we used to go trout fishing, and we'd go under the farmer's fence. And I know every once in a while that would touch your back, and it would lift you pretty good. What we use is a pulse, so it's not a constant current where you can't let go. It's a pulse that if you had your hand on it, it makes you jump, makes you let go. So it's a totally different system. And I can walk up and put my hand on it. It'll make me jump, but it doesn't hurt the animals. Like, it doesn't hurt me. It doesn't, when the kid puts its head through that square mesh, it gets a little jolt. Not too bad, but it teaches it very quickly not to do that again. And when we do have little kids, until they're trained to that electric netting fence, I'm there, with very few exceptions. And so I've always been there when they've stuck their head through to make sure that they're, that I can get them out, that they're not going to get too panicked, they're not going to hurt themselves or destroy the fence. See a couple more people have joined. Again, you don't have to, but I always like to ask everybody to speak. If you haven't got an invite to speak, there is a way that you can request to speak. So feel free. If you want to ask questions, you want to share about your garden, vegetable garden, flower garden, animals, pets, homestead, farm, feel free. We're supposed to have somebody show up from Harvest Harmonics. I kind of wanted to talk to them. Somebody approached me on LinkedIn and wanted to give me their sales pitch. Very polite, but wanted to give me their sales pitch. And I suggested that they come on the talk. And they were supposed to. Now, maybe they had trouble downloading the app or whatever. But if there is anybody here from Harvest Harmonics, please let me know. Because I'd love to bring you up and you can tell us about it. It's funny because I have a friend, actually over on the Wisdom app, who has a love tuner. And I kind of chuckle at that stuff. I honestly do. and I love my friend. The um, and I know people who use those tuners for their meditation, and they absolutely they swear by it. Absolutely. I haven't used one, so I really can't knock it, but it kind of makes me smile. But it works on, if I'm not mistaken, 528 hertz, which is like a real vibration that, for my lack of information, is very effective at tuning one's body, we'll say, getting you in tune. Well, from what I understand, from the little bit that I talked to the people from Harvest Harmonics, it's a very similar thing that they have created that fits into the water line. And so when the water touches it, and it all works on a molecular level, it is supposed to attune the plants so that they produce better. Their claim is that it's a 25% increase in production. And they actually use less water, are healthier. And so I was really hoping that they would show up, because as host, I, of course, would treat them with dignity, but at the same time, really wanted to ask them some questions. Maybe with dignity, but ask them some questions that I'd like to know, because like, does this stuff really work? I did go to their website, and it seems like there is some science behind it. The same as the Love Tuner. There, seems that there's some science behind that. And I do know. I mean, there's certain sounds in a person's voice, whatever that is, that kind of gets us, feeling a certain way. I know, and I forget what that is, but I know that DJs like to play their music at a certain frequency or certain beats per minute or something, because that gets a certain vibe going. So these things kind of intrigue me, although I'm like Mr. Skeptical when it comes to all this stuff. So I was really hoping that they might show up so that we could ask them some questions. But it's called Harvest Harmonics. I'm pretty sure if you Google it, you'll probably find it. Can't remember exactly what their website is. Yeah. A friend inviting me to a talk. Well, I'm doing one at the moment, but I do appreciate the invitation. And so tomorrow, what we're going to be doing, we are going to be moving. We go to the Annapolis Valley, and we source hens that are about a year old that are in free range egg production. And a lot of times when we get them, even though it's free range, that simply means that they're not in a cage. It doesn't mean that they're not intensively farmed. And so when we get them, a lot of times they're molting, or they're hen pecked, literally, half bare. And so we bring them, and we get them feathering back out, help them to improve their health. Again, the human grade hemp seed feed, that 1/4 of the feed that we feed all of our animals, that's what we feed. 25% protein, omegas, essential oils. For a hen, when it's molting, or when it's trying to regrow its feathers, it puts all the protein into that feather growth. And that means that if it's trying to grow feathers and lay eggs at the same time, okay, it needs protein. The hemp seed feed with 25% protein, their egg production doesn't drop as much, because they have more protein. They can grow feather and produce eggs at the same time. It takes roughly 2 weeks to a month for us to really see like a tremendous difference. Um, the last batch of hens that we got, 3 of the hens were pretty near bare when we got them. And we brought them when we put them out here in a small, well, good size for 3 hens. Probably good size for half a dozen hens or more. But a small coop. And we looked after them, and maybe 2.5 weeks ago, because they had those 3 had totally stopped laying. We started looking after them, and about 2.5 weeks ago, we got an egg from 3 hens. And then a couple of days later, we got another egg. And then a couple of days later, we got 2 eggs. And a couple of days later, we got 2 eggs. Well, Sunday, just gone by, was my birthday. And 3 hens laid 3 eggs. So that was a pretty good birthday present. The feeling of knowing that we had helped those birds go from pretty much no feathers and not laying to getting their barley, oats, corn, and wheat from the scratch feed, getting their human grade hemp seed feed combined with their laying mash to where their feathers are now beautiful and they're laying eggs. That's, to me, that's powerful. That touches my heart, being able to help animals do that. And actually, should have moved them into the main coop tonight. Probably going to be tomorrow night at this point. But they're ready to move into. We have our own flock, and then we have a flock of free range hens that we source from the free range henries, and we sell those. And really, being able to sell those, get those, and sell those through the year helps pay for the feed for our other animals. It's Cindy, I see you join. Don't feel that you have to speak, but I invite everybody to. If there's somebody that I haven't invited, there's a button there that you can hit and request to speak. If you have any questions, or if you have a farm or a homestead that you'd like to tell us about, you know what, if any of you do crafts, or if you're makers or artists or craftspeople and you'd like to tell us about your projects, love to hear about them. Any of that stuff. It's to me, it's like sitting by the fire. Maybe sometime we'll do that. Have an outside fire this summer, or a little later in the year, and sit there and watch and listen to the fire as it crackles through the winter here. And thankfully, right now we don't need it. But through the winter, we have our kitchen wood stove, so we do sit by the fire sometimes. It's I am totally. I would be totally honest here. I'm totally blown away right now that so many of you have shown up. I've been on here a couple of months. Um, Last week was a bunch of friends from the Wisdom app, Wisdom community, where you can find us at wisdom.app/Briden Farm. What I find about Wisdom is this is terrible, but I don't find it a great platform for reaching a lot of people. I find it a tremendous platform for reaching a small number of people who are really committed. That become like family very quickly. And because of that, I love the Wisdom community. Now, on here, on the flip side, I have absolutely no idea how, because this is the most people I've had in the room. when I sent out the invitations to the followers tonight, there was over 4,200 followers, and it's just grown. I honestly can't even explain how it's grown. After a couple months on here, we've got 4,200 followers, and here I am with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 people. Now that's counting me in the chat bot, but still. And there's been some come and go. So, like, appreciating all of you. So the reach on here is kind of tremendous. And I mentioned earlier our website is Briden Farm, BRIDEN Farm.com. And the other website that I want to draw your attention to is bridenfarm.productions with an S. So it's not like a .com, it's bridenfarm.productions. That's where all of our videos and podcasts show up. And we also have a store link over there. And on that link, you can order a Briden Farm mug. And you can also order my most recent book, Small Farm Revolution, Homesteaders Changing the Way We Live, which, honestly, I wrote in a week. I used an artificial intelligence app, which kind of spit out the book, and then I went back over and edited it and made it my own. Was playing around with it. But because I did that, I also made it like super affordable. The PDF version is over there for $10. And so if you want to support us, bridenfarm.productions. And even if not, go and enjoy the videos. Listen to some of the podcasts. We appreciate it. And the other thing is, if you want to support us over on buymeacoffee.com, /Briden Farm. There's ways to support us over there. We have a membership over there. I like the membership program that we put together for $5 a month. I think it is. You can sponsor chicken, and we will donate a dozen eggs to a needy family. You can sponsor a duck. We have Muscovy ducks. You can sponsor a duck for $10 a month, or sponsor a goat for $20 a month. And I've been thinking that probably I should sponsor a pig as well. But if you really want us to sponsor a pig instead of a goat, you let us know and we can do that too. But those are little memberships that if you really want to support us on an ongoing basis, that's a way to do it. But I just appreciate that you're all here. And if there is anyone who has any questions, please feel free to step up and ask those questions. If you are on the Wisdom app and you have questions, click join the conversation button, and I can bring you up as a guest on there as well. Although, honestly, I think this is best seen and handled over here on Fireside Chat. Some things that Wisdom's really great for, some things that Fireside Chat's really great for. And I appreciate you all, and I appreciate both platforms. But if there is nobody else who wants to come up and speak at the moment, then I think I'm going to call it a night. And I'm going to go relax, because after going and getting the feed today, which is like a 3-hour return drive for us, and handling 1,100 pounds of feed up there and then unloading it tonight, I'm a little bit tired. And but yeah, you know what? Come back next week. I so appreciate you all. You really have no idea how much I just thank you for showing up. Monday nights, 9 Atlantic, 8 Eastern, on here on and also on the Wisdom app. I do Growing Your Family Tree, which is a genealogy talk. My hobby over the last 30 years is family history and genealogy, definitely my life's work and passion. And if you come there on Monday night, 9 Atlantic, 8 Eastern, if you want, you can ask me questions. I'll show you how to get started for free, finding family and ancestry. And I usually take a person or two, maybe three, who wants to come up and join the broadcast and gather some information from you. And I will do my best to put together some information on one of your ancestors, or do some family history research for you for free. On that, you can go to check out our website there, growingyourfamilytree.com. And with that, I am going to check one more time over in wisdom, because I don't want to ignore anybody over there. But if there is nobody who wants to jump up and speak, that's all right. I just absolutely appreciate that you all showed up. If you know somebody who makes crafts, an artist, a craftsperson, what have you, if you know somebody who has a small farm, a homestead, flower or vegetable garden, tell them about us. Tell them about this Briden Farm Fireside Chat, because I want to help feature them. I want to help tell their story. I want them to come up and help tell their story, and maybe through our podcasting and videos as well. So I'm going to end it for now. I hate to, because this is beautiful. You've all touched my heart tonight just by showing up, and I appreciate it. Have a good night, everyone. Come back next week. Come Monday night, Growing Your Family Tree. Have a great night. I'm going to end the conversation now.